Do you think Kanye will ever get help for these delusions that he is having with his bipolar disorder? Every strange thing that he does is mostly due to his bipolar. I think the sense of grandiosity, that he is elite and the best and the biggest and knows everything and all that other stuff, that's from bipolar disorder. His emotional instability, jumping between being manic and depressed, that's definitely bipolar. But the beliefs that Kanye holds are not from bipolar disorder. I hear the same ideas coming straight out of the Black Israelites or the Hebrew Israelites. If you're unfamiliar with this group, I've covered them on my channel, but the general idea is they believe that they are descendants of the original tribes of Israel. If that sounds familiar, it's probably because it is. Every group that believed themselves to be elite throughout history has claimed to be the real descendants of the tribes of Israel, and the current people who claim to be Jews right now are imposters. It is a deeply anti-Semitic belief system. But the Hebrew Israelites, they're aka the Black Israelites, are a hate group, an extremist group, a cult, and they were responsible for a disproportionate amount of domestic terrorism in New York City against the Jewish community in 2019. I forget what the percentage was now, but it was really, really high. When Israel was created as a country, they said, if you are Jewish and you can prove your ancestry, then you automatically have citizenship. Come back to Israel and live here with us. The Hebrew Israelites showed up in Israel and started living there because, a black community believed themselves to be the real descendants of Israel. Obviously, were incorrect. Recently, the Israeli government rejected their claim that they were descendants of the tribes of Israel and told them to get out, basically. And they are, the whole group is very anti-Semitic, very hateful against Jews. And Kanye is repeating their belief system verbatim. You could say that, yeah, maybe some of the things that he says and does are from bipolar disorder. I agree. My mom has bipolar disorder. My dad had bipolar disorder. My brother has bipolar disorder. My best friend growing up had bipolar disorder. My ex-wife has bipolar disorder. A lot of people around me have had it throughout my entire life. I know exactly what it looks like. And Kanye most definitely has it. But a lot of the beliefs that he holds and has been espousing recently are not from mental illness. It's from religious indoctrination. I'm not going to give Kanye the out of blaming it on mental illness when it's most definitely Kanye being a shithead and refusing to look at facts and information and think things through logically because he thinks he's too good to get something wrong. I don't care. Anyways, Kanye has come out and said some deeply anti-Semitic stuff recently, and he got dropped by a whole bunch of brands, Adidas and everything. Kanye claimed to have lost $2 billion overnight. I don't know how true that is. Maybe it's true. That could be accurate, hypothetically. He deserved it. He deserved every bit of it. So anyways, yeah, he comes out there and it says all kinds of really anti-Semitic stuff, right? The reason I wanted to talk about this, too, is because I got a voicemail about Kanye, which we'll get to in a minute. But he comes out there and he says this. Listen to this, mid-October 2022.
For the Jewish people, what I'm doing is I'm Me Tooing the Jewish culture. I'm saying y'all got to stand up and admit to what y'all been doing. And y'all just got away with it for so long that y'all don't even realize what y'all doing.
And what is it the Jewish culture is doing? They're just living their lives. They're just normal people. This would be like, okay, here's his claim. He's claiming that they are at the top of every industry, media, banking, and all of these other economy, whatever else. He's claiming that they're at the top of these industries and controlling people like puppets, which is an extremely anti-Semitic trope, and it's straight out of an old book called The Protocols of the Elders of Zion. If you want to read more about it or hear more about it, I talk about it at length in this video I released recently. It's on my main channel. It's called The Source of All Conspiracies, a 1902 document called The Protocols. That's the name of the video that I released on my Owen Morgan Telltale YouTube channel. Just check that out if you want to hear more about it. But that's the source of a lot of the anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that Kanye is spreading around. It's really no different than saying there are black people at the top of the music industry and the banking industry. Why are there black people why is there a black bank CEO? They must control the big banks, right? I've got to Me Too the black community because of what they're doing. It's no different than saying that. Seriously, that's basically what he just said. There is no cabal of Jewish people at the top pulling strings and controlling people. This is just plain and simple, pure, unadulterated anti-Semitism.
And it's like, y'all can't fuck with me either because y'all behind that gated fence, y'all soft, your hands got soft. You ain't out here getting beat up every day like me.
Kanye is getting beat up every day? Are you kidding me? He's worth billions of dollars. His hands are not soft? You telling me if I went up to Kanye right now and felt his hands, they would be calloused from all the hard work that he does?
You ain't out here getting called crazy every day like me.
That's because he honestly, genuinely, I'm not saying it to be offensive, he has bipolar disorder and he needs medicine. People generally take lithium for this. He desperately needs medicine. He's taking this as an offense. I don't mean offense. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. Please take medicine. This is not meant to hurt anybody. Just take medicine.
You ain't out here getting your family snatched like me. You ain't out here half your culture getting aborted like me. You ain't out here getting outraged with false narratives like BLM like me.
Okay, when he says false narratives like BLM, it's a shot across the bow to BLM. He hates BLM. He thinks Black Lives Matter is an evil organization. Kids getting family snatched like me. What is he talking about? Getting your family snatched like me? The Jews snatched your family? What does that mean? You ain't out here half your culture getting aborted like me? He believes that 50% of black babies are aborted. That's just completely delusional. It's incorrect. And aside from that, by allowing abortion in the first place, you're putting family planning in the hands of the people, which rises the quality of life for everybody in the area, for everybody involved in this. It is a good thing that abortion access is available to people in any community, particularly the black community. It's not a bad thing. By removing abortion access, it's going to make people's lives harder and worse and more painful and more impoverished. Kanye West has fallen for every far-right extremist narrative out there until he finally fell right into the anti-Jewish narratives. This is honestly sad.
So for all the Jewish media, y'all want to sit down and have a conversation with me? Then let's have a conversation. But you ain't gonna send Harley Pasternak, Puff Daddy, Meek Mills, Kim Kardashian, none of the usual suspects.
These are all of the people that talked to Kanye and tried to get him out of this delusional train wreck that he's gotten himself into right now. Puff Daddy, he posted messages from Puff Daddy. I thought he was going by P Diddy now. Anyway, he posted screenshots of a conversation from him saying, please, you're hurting our people. Please talk to me. Like, stop doing what you're doing. This is insane. And he thinks that the Jews are controlling P. Diddy, Meek Mills, and Kim Kardashian, Harley Pasternak, I don't know who that is, controlling these people to try to control Kanye. This is so deeply sad. His mind is just gone, and I'm so sorry. Please take medicine.
None of the usual suspects and get me to stop talking. You're going to have to take my life. I don't care if you Black Mirror me. I don't care if you do some of the alternative, what the thing was, show me talking, saying somebody didn't say. I don't care if you have me a goat on camera. I don't care what you do. You're going to have, yeah. And by the way, and if you take my life, there's going to be some college kid, some young Ye, some young Pac that's going to even go harder. It's going to, y'all thought George.
He believes himself to be like Tupac for calling out Jews. This is so, so sad. Y'all thought George Floyd was going to send it up?
It's gonna, y'all thought George Floyd was gonna send it up. If you took my life right now, you're going to see something you never saw.
He thinks his life is in danger from the Jews. Before you feel too sympathetic for this guy, listen to this next piece right here.
The thing about it, me and Adidas, is like, I could literally say anti-Semitic shit and they can't drop me. I could say anti-Semitic things and Adidas can't drop me. Now what? Now what?
He never gave a shit. This is not about his mental condition. Don't fall for it. Don't let yourself feel sympathy for somebody who is causing direct, tangible harm to a community with the shit that he's saying right now. He deserves sympathy as a human being. I hope he gets treatment. I hope he figures his shit out, but he needs to be held accountable. Mental illness is not an excuse for this. This is religious indoctrination, not mental illness. Now, mental illness is certainly fueling it, but this is religious indoctrination, plain and simple. So that brings us around to the voicemail that I wanted to listen to. Check this out. Listen to what this caller had to say here.
Hey, Owen. Guy Young, Brookfield, Illinois. With all this uproar with Kanye, Ye.
Yeah, he changed his name to Y.E. from Kanye to Ye. I don't know why. I understand that people want me to call him by Ye. If he was really that upset about it, then I would. But he doesn't seem to be like going around correcting people or whatever. It's a brand, and people don't really know who you're talking about. So I'm just going to call him Kanye for the moment.
He's being dropped by all these corporations. And suppose he had a school named Donda, I guess, and he closed it immediately.
Donda. Yeah, he had a school named Donda. Donda was the name of his mother, I believe. Donda West. And she actually... There's a law named after her, as a matter of fact. She died from plastic surgery, from my understanding. And now there's a law about if you're going to get plastic surgery, then you have to be thoroughly checked by a physician first for physical fitness or some other... I don't even remember exactly. Don't quote me on that. I'll put a little note in here afterward, after I fact check this, just to be sure if that's accurate or not. So if you're curious if that's accurate or not, just look right here on the screen and I'll have the answer. Anyways, yeah, Donda was the name of his mother. And yeah, there is a school named after her from my understanding and everything else. And it's just getting uglier and uglier.
Immediately, and but they're going to try to reopen it in the school year of 2023 that starts in 2023. I'm just, and people are saying, oh man, can you imagine the crap they're indoctrinating these kids with? What's the difference between that and the stuff they're doing in religious schools and in Florida and in Texas where they're not preaching real history and glossing over stuff? I see no difference whatsoever. You got to come in on this. What do you think?
Yeah, I am definitely deeply opposed to Christian schools or private schools in general, honestly. I don't like private schools. I don't think they should exist, or homeschools, or charter schools, whatever. I just don't think they should exist. I think you should be forced to attend school with everybody else, with the rest of society. I homeschooled for a short time, for 4 years or something, and it was bad, very bad. You should not be separated from society that way. Not healthy. So, anyways, yeah, that's my take. Private schools shouldn't exist, in my opinion. Neither should homeschooling. It's just not healthy. Thank you so much for the message. I appreciate it.
Hey, Owen, it's Jim from Utah. I was just watching one of your videos and you were playing Final Fantasy VII, and it reminded me a while ago my brother was having a conversation with a Jehovah's Witness because they misread his shirt, which said Jehovah's Witness. On the back, it was Church of the One-Winged Angel of Latter-day Summons. Just figured the reference in the Jehovah's Witness just reminded me. The purpose of this call was really just that. Hopefully gave you a chuckle. All right, have a good day.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That is pretty funny. I love Final Fantasy VII. I was playing it recently on my Telltale Unfiltered YouTube channel while we watched videos of Nutter Butters doing their Nutter Buttery as usual. I think it's a fantastic game, and that was a pretty good joke, too. Jehovah's Witnesses. That's really good. I used to think Jehovah when I saw the name Genova when I was a kid. I definitely played the shit out of that game, and it was fantastic back in the day. But anyway, yeah, thank you so much for the voicemail. Appreciate it. Did Brazil go to Lula? Is that what you mean? Oh my God, I've been waiting for the answer to that. I didn't know it was coming today. Oh, no way. That's fantastic, right? That is fantastic news. But you know Bolsonaro is going to fight it. You know he's going to go the way of the Trumper and do everything he can to twist things around and make it look like the election was stolen and all that other garbage. How much did he win by? A lot? That's fantastic news. I'm so glad to hear that. Bannon's already accusing Lula of cheating. Of course he is. So thrilled about that. Yes. Oh my God. It is going to get ugly. Very ugly. Agreed. Okay, let me explain for people who are unfamiliar. Brazil had an election recently. Bolsonaro versus a guy named Lula. Now, Lula is just a mild, moderate, regular old run-of-the-mill kind of center-left politician who's already been the leader of Brazil, I believe. Bolsonaro is currently the leader of Brazil, and he's a far-right extremist. Think Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, basically. Or Donald Trump versus Obama, or any other person like that. Just kind of middle of the road. Well, there's been a runoff election. Donald Trump endorsed Bolsonaro, the far-right extremist. Steve Bannon endorsed Bolsonaro, the far-right extremist. I mean, endorsements out the wazoo from the far right on both ends. Bolsonaro has spent the last, few months lining everything up and preparing people to claim that there was fraud, voter fraud. The old Donald Trump defense. Actually, there are a lot of far-right extremist dictators who went with there was election fraud narrative. Trump is neither the first nor the last. But anyways, Lula, the non-far-right extremist, won the election officially. That's fantastic news. But things are going to get very ugly, like people said in the chat, because Bolsonaro is not going down without a fight. I believe that he's going to try to hold power the same way that Trump did, which means there may be blood. So good luck, anybody who is in Brazil. I hope things go okay for you. The police tried to bring public transport in Lula's strongest areas to a standstill to keep people from voting. That doesn't surprise me. That's the kind of shit Trump would do. That he did do, you know? NPR report on the election in Brazil. Lula wins over right-wing Bolsonaro. Fantastic news. I am so glad to hear that. How much did he win by? Let me see. What was the total? There's a runoff, and I knew Lula had an edge, but I didn't know how much of an edge it would be. 51% of the vote. Yeah, oh my God. Lula got 50.9%. Bolsonaro got 49.1%. Holy shit, that is close. Oh my God, is that close. Didn't help that Bolsonaro was having the police go around and try to stop public transport and doing all kinds of shady. He's doing all the same shady you would expect from Trump. He's doing all that. He even got endorsements from Trump. This is the kind of that Bolsonaro would do. Bolsonaro is a scumbag, generally. That's just fantastic news, though, that Lula won. That's great. Really happy to hear that. Back in the 90s or 2000s, I don't remember which, there was this problem where people kept putting explosives in mailboxes, and the mailbox would just blow up randomly, and the news would talk about it like, oh my God, somebody put more explosives in a mailbox. What are we going to do about this problem? And they talked about it more and more, and it spread through society, and it made national coverage. And next thing you know, the rate of exploding mailboxes like quadrupled until one day the news decided, you know what? We're going to completely stop talking about this issue. We're not going to mention it anymore. And just like that, exploding mailboxes went away. Interesting, huh? The news has an effect on society and what happens, what they do. The news has an effect on trends in society. The more the news fearmongers about things, the more likely those things are to happen. So that's a really good point. You know, people saying they're going to find fentanyl in their candy or whatever is so ridiculously unlikely. It's obscene. But there are mentally unwell people out there who never had that idea. They never even thought of it. But now that the news mentioned that this is a possibility, they may go out there and try something like that. There is literally not a lick of evidence that this has ever happened. Somebody gives out fentanyl for Halloween or whatever. Kids know not to eat candy that is not pre-packaged. Anyways, but just like the mailbox thing, these people are creating a self-perpetuating cycle. They should just shut the up and stop trying to spread nonsense, in my opinion. Anyway, interesting point. Ugh, God. I saw Dr. Phil on Joe Rogan. I didn't watch the episode. I just saw a clip of it from somewhere. Someone making fun of it, talking about how Halloween candy's going to have all kinds of stuff in it. And, God, how do people fall for this shit, honestly? How do people fall for it? How do people fall for the idea that they're going to find fentanyl in their kids' candy? Honestly, I don't get it. It's been passed around for 50 years at this point. Everyone's always afraid of it. It's not happening. Opiate addiction is a huge problem here in Akron. They have a kind of fentanyl that is colorful and looks like candy. Cops in Akron have had to deal with it. It's real, and it gets kids addicted. Gets kids addicted because they see it and they think it's candy? Are kids getting addicted to ecstasy too because they make ecstasy in these cute, colorful little pills also that look like sweet tarts? They always have. I haven't heard of like 8-year-olds getting hooked on ecstasy because they think it's candy, but I know. I was in the opiate capital of the United States, maybe even the world, I don't know. Huntington, West Virginia, that's where I was. And so I know all too well about the opiate addiction problem. It's not pretty, but you know, when I lived in Huntington, I was actually addicted to opiates. I was hooked on OxyContin for a while, and then they banned OxyContin, and then I was hooked on heroin for a short time. I know this issue better than most can say. I eventually went to college for substance abuse counseling for 2 years, and I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, pills are expensive and are not being placed in an area where a kid could grab them and take them. Not out of fear for the kid's life, not for their safety or anything. These drug addicts are not necessarily looking out for their kids' safety. You know what they're looking out for? Their stash. They don't want anybody taking their pills. Like I said, I lived in this world for years. They would not allow their stuff to be in a spot where anybody could ever find it. Believe me, it is a non-existent problem that kids stumble onto their parents' fentanyl pills and start taking them at 8 years old because they enjoy it. It's just not happening. If it is, I'm going to need a little bit of evidence. Willing to believe it, I just don't. This is the standard line coming out of cops and Dr. Phil and Joe Rogan and fearmongers all alike. It's not happening. They aren't going to be passing them out at Halloween. They're not going to be giving them to children. They're not going to be packaging them in sweet tarts containers. It's just not happening. That's not how the drug world works. And it betrays a ridiculous ignorance of the drug world if Joe Rogan or Dr. Phil or whoever else actually believe that this is what's happening right now. Dr. Phil said that, yes. Dr. Phil said they've designed it to look like candy, and he thinks they're going to be passing it out at Halloween. And it was debunked by the New York Times, I think, or somebody else. I don't remember who exactly, but yeah. Dr. Phil went on Joe Rogan's program and said all of that. So I was debunking Dr. Phil's thing.